Forged among stars.
I'm back, and so is Hawking Duval. Let's begin a session with the begin a session move. So I'm going to take 1 momentum to get me up to 6, and then we'll roll on the session oracle to see what happens. Peril lies ahead or lurks just out of view. All right, well, I'm going to put that in my back pocket, and I'll think about it. We left Hawking as he was on the shard of the sun, and he just said he was going to steal back the brain in the jar that he had given to the personnel of Lodestar. And he was telling Scout, Dancer, and Hellhound, and their responses are all different and all fit their personalities. Scout says, "What?" And Dancer says, "We are." And Hellhound says, "Heck yes!" And Hawking smiles. And then he says, "We have a lot of work to do. Dancer, since you are an investigator, I need you to run the information gathering portion of this mission. If I'm seen around the station poking around in places, it will be suspicious, and I know Ogre will have something to say about it. So you're going to have to run the information gathering part of this mission." Dancer nods and says, "Sure thing. Of course, I would like Scout and Hellhound to assist you in any way possible." All 3 of his crew members agree, and then Dancer says, "What will you be doing?" And Hawking looks very grave, and he says, "I have some special tasks I need to take care of. Vagabond and Blackbird said I could stay as long as I wanted, so we're going to take advantage of some of this time, although we must hurry." And Dancer says, "Sure thing, I'm on it." And she gets up from the table, and she's going to go right to a computer terminal and start looking up information. Scout looks at Hawking and says, "What specifically are you going to do?" And Hawking looks at her and looks at Hellhound, who are still at the table. And Hawking says, "Just trust me, okay?" And both the young women nod. Okay, so that was the setup for this situation that Hawking Duval is going to have to deal with here. He has been enraged by the personnel of Lodestar. He was expecting part of the goodwill that he had earned by getting them the brain in the jar, which they so desperately wanted, and fighting the duel on their behalf, that he would be allowed back to the planet. He didn't even think for 1 second that they would not allow him to go back to the planet. And now here is Ogre with a couple of warships saying the planet belongs to them, and he is not allowed to go down to it. But he has made iron vows to survey the entire ship and to explore the precursor vault that is inside. But we have also sworn a vow to find out the true nature of the brain in the jar, and Monarch, Hawking's symbiote's strange behavior when they discovered it. So we're in for a heist. If I know how to run one in Starforged, we will see. But as I always say, there are a few things to take care of mechanically within the game system first, and I'm going to take care of a couple of them. So let's head over here. We still have some experience points, and so I'm going to spend these. We'll go over to the ship. Lodestar has agreed that their technicians can work on the ship, and they will do this as a favor for Hawking because of what he's done for them. So I'm using that as a reason in the fiction that the Shard of the Sun would gain some of these extra capabilities. So we're going to go ahead and add this research lab. So the technicians at Lodestar install a research lab on the Shard of the Sun there, and we're going to -3 for the cost. Oh, no. I still have 6. I did that backwards. All right. We're also going to come over here to assets, and I probably have too many already because I do struggle with remembering all the pluses to all the different roles and all the modifiers and that. But as you can see here, we have the symbiote, we have the diplomat, we have the lore hunter, the veteran, the looper. We have a deed now, which didn't cost us anything. This was just a consequence of filling 6 boxes on the legacy track, which is great. But I think I am going to add another asset, and I might regret this, but I am going to add Explorer to Hawking Duval's portfolio, I guess. Since we are encountering so many of these expeditions and derelicts and vaults, I thought this would be great to give Hawking a little bit of an edge, and we can tick some more discoveries on the legacy track. So there is that. And now we're down to 3 up here. That seems like a lot of assets for one character. However, once we fill these legacies all the way up here, we add plus 10, but then we only get 1 point instead of 2. So what I am thinking, my thought process as a gamer, is that I will spend a lot of points right now on assets or paths that cost 3 experience points. And once I have filled some of these tracks and I'm just down to earning 1 point, I will focus on buying some of the abilities that only require 2. I hope that makes sense. Now, I did just forget to add up here. I think I'm at 27. Okay, so that I've spent 27. I think I might have lost count, and if I did, I'm terribly, terribly sorry, but that's just the way it goes. Or some of those things that I wanted to get out of the way. Let's clear this. Now, while Dancer is busy gathering information and she is using Scout and Hellhound to track down some info on how they can steal back the brain in the jar, which needs a better name, I know, but that's what we're calling it, okay? Hawking is going to do something that will forever change his future. I'm going to say it's the next morning after he had that meeting with Vagabond, Blackbird, and Ogre, and he was told he could not go down to the planet. He is going to go and see Vagabond while Vagabond is just in his office as an administrator of Lodestar, and Hawking goes to see him. Vagabond is like, oh, Jester, I wasn't really expecting you today. And he looks a little nervous because he knows that he was in the wrong and that they used Hawking. Even though they paid him, they did trick him. And Hawking says, I'm sure you didn't, but don't worry, everything's fine. And he makes a little wry smile. And then he continues and he says, Vagabond, do you have an adept on board the station? And Vagabond says, oh, why, yes, we do. And Hawking is pleased to hear this. And so he says, oh, that's great news. Can I schedule an appointment with the adept? I have some questions and information that I would like to gather. Vagabond's eyes narrow a bit, but there's nothing too suspicious about asking for an adept. Adepts are people who fill the niche of AI and supercomputers in our world and in the Forge that we've created. So a person asking to consult an adept would be like somebody asking to go to the library. So Vagabond, even though he wonders maybe what Hawking will ask the adept, he says, yes, of course. I can put you in touch with them and you can schedule an appointment. And Hawking thanks Vagabond and he leaves. And so here's what I'm going to say happens after this. Hawking is granted an appointment either the next day or just 1 or 2 days later. And he is going to go and consult the adept. But first, we are going to create this adept. So we'll come over here to the oracles, to the characters. We'll get a couple first looks. Distracted. Man, we've had that a whole bunch. Maybe. We'll see. Plain. That's rough. Attractive. Okay. Threatened. We've had all of these before, I think. Scruffy. Yeah, accented. Let's take a look. How many of them are here? Oh, yeah, there's not many. I'll have to create some more. All right, well, I will stick with these. So we'll have this, or well, scruffy and accented are both of what Ogre has. Let me roll a couple more. Attractive, armed. Okay, augmented. We've had that a few times. Let me get one more. Youthful. Okay, we've had that too. But here's what I will do. I will use a few of these, but first I will start rolling on disposition and goals and revealed aspects and their name, and then I'll see about picking some of these that would be easy to work with. Disposition indifferent, we've had that. Unfriendly, oh dear. Helpful. So we're getting contradictions already. So like plain and attractive and helpful. And this is a problem with rolling too much. But indifferent could be a good one for the adept because the adepts use mind-altering drugs to see the data. So we may go with that one. Let me roll once or twice more. Okay, well, here's something I could do. I could use the ones that showed up twice. Is that too cheap? So that would be attractive. Oh dear. And helpful. I kind of like that, even though the only reason I rolled so many times is just because there's limited options. I may use my book, the great book of random table science fiction here, to get some more of these, but I'll see right now. The role, of course, a role is an adept, but maybe they have a secondary role on the station, so we can just see. Oh, it says roll twice. A researcher, well, that makes absolute sense. And a spacer. I don't know if that one makes any sense. A guard, that's worse than spacer. Engineer, nah. Explorer, nah. Okay, so we'll go with a researcher and a spacer. Let's check out a revealed aspect. Proud. Let's do one more. Brave. I like those. All right, and then see if we can get a name. Now, we might get into a lot of repeats on this, so I may have to go to some other tables. Clank. Well, we never had Clank before, so that's interesting. Let's see. Given name, Dirya, and family name, Durant. Okay, let me record this adept. Okay, I have recorded this adept here in the connections section because Hawking Duval is going to try to make a connection with this adept. However, I am going to change the rating here. I think it's going to be formidable because you don't mess with adepts. You don't mess with people that can see data in streams and have prophetic visions, okay? Or at least you don't treat them lightly. So we'll come over here and we'll go to moves and we'll check out, make a connection. So this roll will be plus heart. On a strong hit, we create a connection, weak hit, they ask something, a miss, something bad happens. So we will see what we get. Now, I had better checked. Do I have anything that helps me make a connection? Well, no, I haven't purchased any of those yet. Okay, so we'll go back to moves and we'll roll. No modifiers, just heart straight. A strong hit. Nice. This is very good. So I have created a connection. I've already given them a role and a rank. Whenever this person aids me, I will get a +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. And so Hawking is going to ask this person some questions. Well, let's come back here. So we've assigned the rank. Everything looks good. So Hawking, the first question he asks the adept is he wants some information on the precursor language. And we'll close this. This will be gather information. And he is going to ask Clank. It's a pretty fun call sign. He's going to ask Clank if she can find out some information on the precursor language. So we are going to roll wits, but we get a +1 because she is now a connection. And we'll see what happens. I might have to pay the price. Oh, why did I say that? Your investigation unearths a dire threat or reveals an unwelcome truth that undermines your quest. Pay the price. Well, let's go over here. I don't know what the most obvious outcome will be. I can ask the Oracle or roll on the table. I might just roll here on the table, but then I'll ask the Oracle some questions. I'm kind of getting into a groove where I ask it several questions. As you might have noticed, I'll ask it several questions, and then I'm able to piece together something. So let's just see what this says. I may not go with it, but we'll see. An individual or community you care about is exposed to danger. Let's do one more and see. You waste your resources. That could be an easy one, certainly. So let's go to oracles, though, and let's do an action and a theme. Affect bond. Oh, no. Exposed weapon. Affect bond. Interesting. Because Hawking shares a bond with Monarch, and him asking about the language could undermine that bond a little bit. Ooh, that's scary. Man, I don't know. Let's try again. Transform knowledge. Desolate facility. Oh, I like desolate facilities. Transform knowledge. Transform knowledge. Okay, I'm starting to get some ideas. I may come back here to pay the price and just roll again on this table. And a new enemy. We've had that a million times. That's vague. Yeah. Okay, none of those work. You waste your resources. Could be an easy one. It seems like this should be costly, but I did like a couple of these here. Affect bond. Exposed weapon. I don't know what that means. Transform knowledge. Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that as Hawking asks Clank to look into or to gather information on the precursor language, that Clank, she takes her drug and she enters her state where she is looking at data that is flowing and she's piecing together the puzzle of the precursor language. When she comes back to Hawking, she says, you understand that if you start down this path and if you learn this language, you will be forever transformed. The person you are today will cease to exist and there will be a new person. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Hawking prepares himself and he thinks very hard and long and he says, I'm prepared to give that part of me up. Let's go over here and look at vows. I had made learn the precursor language formidable. I'm actually going to raise that. This is all a consequence of that miss. I'm going to raise it to extreme. However, Clank does tell him some information. So we're going to get to mark some progress. Just 2 ticks. And as Hawking gets ready to leave, Clank holds up her hand and says, wait, Jester. And he turns and he says, yes. And she says, this quest of yours that will take you down this path to learn the precursor language, you're going to need something more. Hawking nods. What is it? And she says, you will need to become an adept. I am going to spend these last 3 points, and Hawking Duval will gain the path of Seer. Now, how I am going to play this in fiction is that Hawking, I believe, is going to sojourn just for a little while longer here at Lodestar, and this will give Dancer time to gather information on how they can steal the brain in a jar, and it will also give Hawking time to be taught at least some of the ways of an adept by Clank. So I'm going to roll Sojourn, because they're going to stay a couple weeks, maybe a week. They need to move fast, because we're pushing our luck here with Ogre and Vagabond and all of them. So we're going to roll. Let's see. It's just plus heart. Ooh, let me check. Do I have any Sojourn? moves. No, it doesn't look like it. Or wait, no, we don't have anything for Sojourn. So I'm going to roll. Weak hit as above, but resources are strained. You and your allies take 1 recover move instead of 2. So heal, hearten, repair, or resupply. I think we are full on most of those. Let's see about resupply. Yeah. Well, actually, here's what I'll say happens about the supply, is that Hawking has to pay Clank for a supply of the mind-altering drugs that apparently Hawking is going to start taking when he wants to visit the lattice work of data that makes up the universe. So I'll say he paid her those resources and he paid her for her services because adepts gotta eat. So we will get to make 1 move here on resupply. It is an automatic strong hit. So essentially we will get that supply back and we'll get +1 momentum, or it could have been 2 supply that she demanded. Okay, so let me check vows. I don't know if I can mark anything here yet because we're just trying to figure out how to steal the thing. We've already marked this tick here, and I think we should probably wait until the end of the session to see if he learns anything else about the language, because now his focus has become on learning how to be an adept so he can research some of this on his own. So let's go back to moves, and we're going to start setting up this heist. Okay, so we're going to have to roll some gather information. I'm also going to look at secure advantage real quick, just to see if this, yes. So we're going to make some preparations to pull off this heist. Probably also have to check gear, because I am envisioning something like a Mission Impossible, sneaking in somewhere and trying to evade security systems and so forth. So I think we're going to need secure advantage. We're going to need gather information, and we're going to need check your gear, see if we're supplied for it. So let's go ahead and we will gather information. Now this is Dancer, who has been kind of leading this operation, gathering all the information, but of course Hawking's the PC, so I will make the roll, but I get a +1 because of her role as an investigator. And I'm thinking investigator would be able to get some information on how to heist something. I'm just assuming. All right, so we're going to roll this one. I don't think, do we have anything for gather information? I always have to remember to check. Now there is something about the research bay or the research lab. This one doesn't seem to make too much sense, because this is more science oriented and this is more criminally oriented, I guess. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and make the move with just a +1 because of Dancer. Why do I play these games, guys? Why do I play these games? I got a miss with a match. Momentum will not save us. Okay. Your investigation unearths a dire threat or reveals unwelcome truth that undermines your quest. Pay the price. We just did this on the other one, but now we have a match, which is worse. Way worse. So I'm going to roll a couple times. Obviously, a negative outcome would be a really strong security system or something like that. But I'm going to roll here on the Oracle and just see if I can get an idea, or I will ask the Oracle. Maybe we can get some words that will create a cool security system or something like that. Friend, companion, or ally is in harm's way. I mean, I guess one of them could have roused suspicion, that Scout or Dancer or Hellhound could have roused suspicion, but not sure. Let's go over here to Oracles. Let's get an action, a theme, a descriptor, and a focus. So we'll come over here and look at this. Mourn, passage, broken, structure. Oh dear. Mourn passage, broken structure. Let's hit them again. Raid, secret, new, illusion. Yeah, I don't know how to put these together yet. Let's go back over here, and I'm going to roll one more time. Let's see. Your equipment or vehicle malfunctions. That's a pretty easy one. What are some of these words? What could they mean? Roll twice. Nice. You create an opportunity for an enemy. You are delayed or put at a disadvantage. I mean, that's vague. You create an opportunity for an enemy. I mean, I could create an opportunity for ogre to do something, or what was the other one up here? A friend could be in harm's way. Structure. What were they? Mourn passage, broken structure, raid, secret, new, illusion. You create an opportunity for an enemy. You create an opportunity for an enemy. Okay, I think I have something. So as they are gathering information, I am going to say that Ogre spotted Scout and he demanded that she not poke around the station anymore. And this has made him suspicious, and he's talked to Vagabond. It has created an opportunity for him to demand that Hawking leave the station. And Hawking has been given a demand to leave the station within 2 days or face the consequences, which will probably be arrest at the hands of the Veiled Sphere and Ogre. So this means we don't have a lot of time. So we are going to try to secure an advantage. I get a +1 because of Dancer. And then what are we using? Speed, mobility, agility, resolve, command, sociability, roll, heart, strength, endurance, aggression, deception, stealth, trickery. Well, it seems like we're using trickery. So I am going to roll here. Actually, observation, because we're observing where they're keeping the brain in a jar. Actually, yeah. So we'll use wits, and I get a +1 because of Dancer, because of her role, and we got a miss. We have to pay the price again. Man. All right, well, let's see what it says. That one's vague. A surprising development complicates your quest. New enemy is revealed. We had that one a million times. You face a consequence of an earlier choice. I don't know what that would be. Friend is in harm's way. These are all just roll twice. You create an opportunity. Yeah, they're all the same. Same. So let's come back over to oracles and we'll try this again. Action, theme, descriptor, focus. So let's see. Change, sanctuary, protected, route. Let's do it again. Move, deception, isolated, apparition. Oh dear. We had illusion before too. Dang. Okay, let me keep thinking about this. I'm going to come back over here. We have to check our gear. Again, I'm relying on Echo, so I get a +1, but this is rough, guys. Strong hit. Okay, we have the equipment we need, and I finally get a +1 to momentum. However, I have to make this very difficult. Very, very, very difficult, since I have all those misses and I have a match. So there is some type of security system that is in place that is very strange security system that might rely on illusions or apparitions. And we've had to change the route that we're going to go, or the route to the lab or the storage facility where they're keeping the object is disguised in some way. And we didn't really figure out what that was. All right, so what I am going to do, there is really no way to run a heist here. I wish there was, because you do have to do everything mechanically within these moves. So what I am going to say it is I'm going to say it is undertake expedition, and I will just adapt it to be a heist in some way. I mean, it doesn't fit, but what else creates a progress bar? Does anything else create a progress bar? Is it enter the fray? Doesn't seem like it's enter the fray. No. I think it is only undertake expedition, but I'm going to have to change it a bit. So we will undertake an expedition, and we are going to look at this. We're going to create a bar, and I'll name it and rank it. And then for each segment, I will imagine a different approach, and we'll have to see what comes of this. All right. So let's go over here to progress bar. I think it's got to be formidable, at least formidable. Now that we've had all these misses, I was thinking about making it troublesome because they weren't expecting somebody to steal it, or even just dangerous, but I think it is formidable. Steal the brain in the jar. All right, so we have that. I am going to look at some of my assets. When I swear an iron vow, formidable or greater, to recover valuable knowledge or extraordinary relic, re-roll any dice when you explore a waypoint and take +1. Ooh, wait, I have forgotten some things. Hawking can have a vision now. Anything on the ship give me anything? No. Okay. So I don't roll to begin with. I need to roll when we actually start to move on the heist. And I am going to do a couple of things first. So Hawking is now a seer, and so he can enter this adept state. And I'm going to get some words and see if I can use those words to interpret what is going to happen at a certain point during the heist. And if I get it right, I get an automatic strong hit because like Hawking saw the future kind of thing. All right, so we're going to ask the Oracle, and I'm not going to roll too many times. I know that can be cheap, so I'm going to do action theme and descriptor focus. So I'll roll action theme first, and if I feel like I can get something out of that, then I'll roll descriptor focus. Construct community. Wow. Okay, let's roll descriptor. Captured. Salvage. What on earth could those things mean? Let me make a note of these. I mean, the brain in the jar was captured. Lodestar is a community. Construct, salvage. I don't know what those mean. Should I give myself a little extra breathing room? I don't know. What if I did a theme and a focus? Hope and time. Oh, gosh, those don't help. Okay, I'll ignore those. Okay. Well, I mean, I could write them down, but I don't know. That might be pushing it for a prophecy. I won't use those just to make it harder on Hawking. Unless they fit perfectly. So construct, community, captured, salvage are the ones I have to figure out how they could be a prophecy later. So when I reach a situation later, if I can figure out how to make those work in that on a certain move, I will take a strong hit. So we'll see. Okay, so here's how I'm picturing this will go down. So what I think is that Hawking would want to leave Scout on the Shard of the Sun because Scout is very special to him, and she is young and inexperienced, and she only really knows how to heal. Now, it could be helpful to have a healer along, so he might rethink this, but there probably wouldn't be time to heal anyway if we're doing a realistic kind of heist where we have to get in and get out. So what I'm going to say is that she stays on board the ship, and I'm going to say Dancer stays on board the vessel as well, because Dancer is going to coordinate by using the ship's computers and some sensors or something like that. So she's going to coordinate this effort somehow. And I am going to say, though, that Hellhound is going to come with Hawking because she is an engineer and they may have to break through some security codes. And so she could be helpful. She will give him some pluses. So they're going to go. And so what I'm imagining is they check their gear and they have black tight-fitting clothes, ski mask, perhaps, and some rope and other odds and ends, that like spy equipment, really. And so they have all of those things, and they are going to wait until it is night on the station. The station just simulates night in crew quarters and in main areas. But Hawking and Hellhound are going to try to slip through maintenance shafts and service corridors as best as they can. Because like I said, I'm imagining Mission Impossible, that style of sneaking in and then breaking through security and stealing the object. And we already know, since we did such a terrible job gathering information and securing an advantage, that this is going to be extremely difficult, and that Hawking and Hellhound are really going to face a test of their will and their resourcefulness to get this brain in a jar out of Lodestar. But that's where we'll end the session. We will come back to moves. We'll do the end session move. We will take 1 momentum, which will be very helpful. And I am going to check some connections. I think I should develop the relationship with Clank, because she's been teaching Hawking how to be an adept. I think I should develop the relationship with his crew as well, because they have been spending so much time together and working on this project together. So let's go up here to Dancer. And so what is it again? Oh yes, I roll plus her rank. So I would roll +2 because they share a bond. So we can come down here and we will, wherever it is, develop a relationship. So as we can see here, so let's just go to summary. We just need a +2. So I'll roll iron just to represent the +2. That'll be easier. Dang it. I rolled a miss. Oh no, I don't think that does anything. Oh yes, a miss, no effect. Okay, good. And we'll go to Scout. She is formidable, so we get a +3. Summary. Yeah, so I'll just roll with Edge to see what the +3 gets. I got a weak hit, although I could burn momentum to get a strong hit. I don't know if I am really wanting to burn momentum on a relationship move. Let's see, what is a weak hit? Oh, it's take +2 momentum. Well, on a strong hit, I do get 2 ticks on my bonds, though. Let's look at my bonds. That would allow Hawking to get a deed where he could create a settlement, I believe. Let's check that real quick. Where is it? Yes, it's the Homesteader. Fill 4 boxes. So if I do that, I could get those 4 boxes, and then I could take the Homesteader. And so I can establish a community. But I'm going to remove it right now because I am going to go back here and I'm going to read this again and see if this makes any sense to me. So if I burn my momentum to get a strong hit, I would get 2 ticks on my bonds, which would allow me to get the deed so I could start a settlement. However, if I burn that momentum, I wouldn't have much left. I'd be back at my reset value, so I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I need the momentum on this heist, so I'm not going to do that. But Hawking really wants to establish a settlement, and by Hawking, I mean me. So we'll go to another connection. Maybe we'll get lucky, because he has 1 more with Hellhound, and it's the same thing. She is dangerous, so she gets a +2. Let's go to summary. Let's just do iron. We got a strong hit, so I didn't even have to worry about that. So let's go back to moves. On a strong hit, I marked 2 ticks on my legacy bonds. So there, oh no, it was like that. There's 1, and there is 2. We get 2 more experience points, and I get to add the Homesteader. But we haven't picked this place yet. Maybe we'll find it in a later episode, but we'll see. Okay, let's come back to this here, the moves, end session. So I looked to see if I strengthened connections, and I did all of the ones that absolutely make sense. We're going to look at vows and just see if we have missed an opportunity here to mark some progress. This background vow, I think taking these steps to learn the language gives me another one. So we got one box filled on our background val. Return to Caladan, not happening. Return to Thule, not happening. Precursor language. Find out the true nature of the brain in the jar. Haven't done that, but I think learning the precursor language that he has taken a step closer, because he's decided to become an adept and lose part of himself in the process. Okay, so there's that. I will imagine a little fiction that Hawking and Hellhound are now all equipped and dressed, and they wait until the simulated nighttime on the station, and they will slip out of the Shard of the Sun and try to steal the brain in the jar.
Thank you for listening to Forged Among Stars.